Hello Year 2 and welcome to another one of our geography lessons on canals. So as we've learned already, canals had to be dug up by people. They were man-made. You cannot find canals in nature, unlike the rivers like the River Thames. The River Thames was made naturally. So right now we are just going to watch a nice, calm, soothing video of a canal boat going along one of the canals. So some of the first canals were built in the 16th century, and that was in the 1500s. But most canals were built in the 18th century, and that was in the 1700s. So that was about 100 years after the Great Fire of London. The canals in the UK still exist today, but they're not used in the same way as they were used in the past. So what sorts of things do you think the canals were used for a long time ago? You can pause the video now to have a think about that, or to talk to somebody at home about what you think canals were used for a long time ago. So canals were built to transport things from one area of the country to another. Now this was before trains existed. So we're going to look at some old photos now of canals from the past and canals from the present. So here is a photo of a canal from quite a long time ago. So what do you think those things on the side are? All those things that are stacked up really, really high. What do you think those are? And then also you see those long, really tall tube things. What do you think those were? So those columns were actually chimneys from different factories. So that tells us that alongside the canals were lots of factories. This canal boat is pulling things called barges. The barges were things that you can load stuff onto. So what do you think these barges are carrying? These barges are transporting coal. Now all these boats are parked up, and when boats are parked up, it's called moored. So they have been moored next to another factory and other warehouses. Here's another photo of narrow boats or canal boats that are full of coal. Now, when canal boats were invented, engines didn't exist yet. So they had to use horses that pulled the canal boats along the canal. And then the path that the horses used to walk on was called a towpath. So here is a modern day photo of a horse pulling a canal boat, and you can see that the horse is walking along the towpath. All right, so this is a picture of a map of the canal near King's Cross. So what I want you to look at are some of the different place names. So I'm going to see if I can get a pen so I can just circle certain things for you. So here, Lockkeeper's Cottage. Now, in the last week's lesson, Miss Long talked about what locks were. So what do you think a lockkeeper is? So a lockkeeper was a person who kind of maintained the lock. So when boats would kind of come up and down the canal, he would help people open and close the different locks. And he had to live in that cottage there. Let's look at something else. So here, the fish and coal offices, that kind of gives us a clue about the types of items that were transported up and down this canal near King's Cross. And then here we have the granary buildings. That building still exists. So if you go to King's Cross now, you can see a building called the Granary Building. And granary is a word that meant that all of the grain from the farms were stored in that building. Here we have a road called Goods Way. So that's just the name of a street here where the goods, which means the items, were transported to and from the canal. So here is a photo of a modern day canal. So what do you think is the same and what do you think is different when you compare it to some of the older pictures? Look at this picture now and compare it to some of the old photographs. How is this canal used differently? And how have the buildings next to the canal changed? Now this picture is from just outside King's Cross Station, so it's really, really close to school. You can see there's someone in a kayak and there's other people kind of just hanging out on the steps here. Now, when the canals first were made a long, long time ago, do you think people would swim in the canal or just hang out next to it? And this is also really close to school. So these children are on kayaks and they are going to go into the loch to go to the next part of the canal. So right now we are going to play a game that is going to teach us more information about how canals were built. So I'm going to play the game, but if you want, you can play the game at home if you'd like, and I've put the link onto Class Dojo.